Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for letting me interview you regarding your career. I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
So, to start off with, could you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Megan Gordon. I'm 26 years old, and I'm a product engineer at Johnson Controls in Plano, Texas.
Nice. What are your educational qualifications and background?
So I have a bachelor's of science in engineering, and then I have a concentration in biomedical engineering, so biomechanics.
Gotcha. So, where did you do your high school?
So I went to Lovejoy. I graduated class of 2016.
Could you explain the path that you took in high school to be where you are right now?
Ooh, in high school. Yeah, so um, I focused a lot on STEM courses. I did some AP courses in, oh gosh, physics, a lot of science AP, and then math as well. I also did some engineering courses, robotics, things like that. Um, and then I did some dual credit in non-STEM, so English. I did a dual credit in, and I think it was history, something like that. It's been a while. It's been 2016, but uh, that definitely helped me a lot. Um, in high school moving forward into engineering for sure.
Gotcha. And then I forgot, but where did you go to college?
So I went to Virginia Tech for a year, and then I did a co-op right after my freshman year. I went back to Virginia Tech and then decided to transfer.
Mhm.
But when you decide to transfer kind of late in the spring, there's not really options to transfer. So I took a gap year and then transferred to Baylor. So I finished my degree at Baylor.
So, why did you transfer from Virginia Tech to Baylor?
So when I did my co-op, that did set me a year behind. So then I would have 5 years of school instead of just four. Um, and then what happened was Virginia Tech started a biomedical engineering a degree, and I was in engineering science and mechanics with a biomechanics concentration. And what that happened to be then was I could choose to stay in ESM and graduate, but be the very last to graduate ever, or be the first to graduate with biomedical engineering, that not really be accredited. So that would be a little bit iffy on being a professional engineer. And they weren't going to give me financial aid for a fifth year. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. So I switched and ended up going to Baylor for, I really like their health programs, their background, and their research stuff. So that's why I chose Baylor.
Gotcha. Do you think whatever courses you took in high school they helped you a lot, and how do you think they helped you?
Ooh. Yes. Physics helped me a lot. That was a big thing. Yeah, physics was a big one. As a biomedical side, chemistry helped a lot. Um, I think calculus also helped a lot. AP courses. So at Virginia Tech, you had to have some classes. You had to have a five on that AP test in order for you to skip that class. And
Mhm.
I didn't get fives. So I had to retake the class, but I already had a lot of the knowledge already, and I had that foundation. So it made the classes a lot easier. I could comprehend things a lot better. Um, Definitely those STEM classes were really helpful.
Gotcha. So, why did you want to pursue engineering?
Ooh, that's a good question. So you know the Barbie like dream house?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've always wanted one, never had one. Definitely built my own. When I was little, my mom makes like tells a story all the time. I it's probably like five, and I wanted to play house, so I wanted to build a mailbox. So I asked her for a bunch of art supplies, and she showed me where everything was. And she came back like 20 minutes later, and I had built a full scale replica model of our mailbox outside. And she was like, "Oh no, she's going to be an engineer." It's so that like design aspect I really liked, imaginative play kind of thing like that. Um, Biomedical. So I wanted to be an architect for a while. I really liked house plans, designs, like that 3D kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, And then I started working with kids with different physical disabilities. Um, so wheelchair bound or having issues with movement and balance. Um, and I saw that there's a really big need for innovation in that field. And I really liked being able to kind of solve problems and help people. So I really like that aspect of biomedical.
That's nice. And you did all of this in college, right? Were these like some of like the research projects that you did?
Yeah, some in college and some even in high school. I nannied for a little bit for different kids around Allen and Lucas with different disabilities, um, and college as well. Yeah, so we worked with kids with autism, spina bifida, cerebral palsy. I even did a volunteer opportunity at a place called Main Gate. It's in Prosper, and
Mhm.
they ride horses and help with balance and stuff. So I was just there to help hold on to the kids, make sure they didn't fall off the horse. I was the catcher, but it was really fun. I got to see how balance works and how the body like adjusts to movement.
Gotcha. So, besides your research opportunities, did you do like any other like activities in college?
Yeah, so I did a ton. I probably did too much. Um, at Virginia Tech, I was in their alumni association, so we were involved with putting together different events and helping out with the alumni
Mhm.
reunions and things like that. And then I also was involved in a engineering fraternity. Kind of weird. I'm not a boy, but it was a co-ed fraternity. So it's a professional engineering fraternity called Theta Tau. And then at Baylor, I was in like a transfer program. So we did some things just for transfers. And then I was in a sorority and I was also in Society of Women Engineers. So probably a lot of stuff, but it was fun. Kept me busy for sure.
So you mentioned Greek life. So
Mhm.
why did you choose to go into Greek life, and do you think it like helped you in the future in like your career and like all of that?
Yeah, so I was definitely anti-Greek life going into Virginia Tech. I didn't rush at Virginia Tech. Thought it was kind of silly and a lot of blonde girls, believe it or not. Um, and I was like, I don't think I'll fit in. Um, but honestly, I did it because I wanted a big sense of alumni. I feel like college, you want to make connections. At Baylor, 25% of the student body is in Greek life. So that's a good way to make connections.
Mm.
Um, And I thought, okay, you know what? I'll rush, I'll meet some people, and if I don't feel like it's for me, then I can drop, choose not to do it. And I rushed, and about 70% of my chapter specifically was in STEM. So that was super helpful. My big, her big, my little, they're all pre med or are in med school now. So that was really cool to see. I had some girls who were in my sorority who were then were in my classes. So that was really helpful having that um, kind of same schedule. So if we had chapter the same night, the same time, we knew that we could study right after. We had a certain kind of block that we could hang out. It's not for everybody. It really does depend on the school. I wouldn't have done it if I stayed at Virginia Tech, I don't think, because I was able to do other clubs that gave me that same outlet. But I do really like it. I enjoyed it, enjoyed the experience, and now I'm actually I'm getting inducted next week. I am the young alumni director for the Dallas chapter of Theta. So I'll
Nice.
be, yeah, I'll be working with a lot of 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds, planning events and uh, raising money. And I also think it's cool. We have a philanthropy. So ours is court appointed special advocates. So we raise money for kids in the foster care system. So I like having an outlet, having to be able to meet people who have the same values as you, um, and raising money for things that you would like to raise money for, I guess, is really helpful.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, were you able to gain any internships in college?
Yeah, so I worked at K2M, which is now owned by Stryker Spine. So I did a minimally invasive engineering co-op. So basically what I did a lot of time was research on the lower spine and how we could create tools to make spinal surgeries more minimally invasive, which reduces their recovery time for the patient. And we also were able to work with some surgeons on what they would like, what should be more custom, and things like that. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. Um, it was very interesting coming out of my freshman year doing that, because I was the youngest. I was a little baby, and I'm talking to these surgeons and trying to go into labs and discussing things with them. I was like a little overwhelming, but it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
Gotcha. Do you have any tips or advice in getting internships in college?
I would say go for it. A lot of colleges, they'll open their career fair to anybody, but they kind of say, okay, the seniors, are going to the career fair. As a freshman, there wasn't a lot of other freshmen at the career fair. And I think people saw me and were like, why is she here? And it showed that I was pretty serious about it.
Mm,
Um, so I would say go for it. There's opportunities in college. And I mean, honestly, like when they're looking at you, you want to be able to get an internship freshman and sophomore year. It's really cool experience to do. And I think they take you seriously when you're showing up as a freshman and saying, I want to be a part of this and be a part of your job. And I want to pursue my career even now.
mhm.
Definitely
Uh,
just go for it.
what's your favorite part about biomedical engineering?
Mm. My favorite part is that it's always a different puzzle. Everybody's body is different. Um, so making things for different people, it's not a one size fits all. It's never a one size fits all. So keeping that in mind, you have to think about different muscle movements, different diseases, different problems that people may have, and everyone may have something unique about them. It's not a one size fits all. So you really do have a different puzzle with every patient that you see and every opportunity to recreate or redesign something. So it's never boring, I guess is a good way to say it.
Gotcha. Were there any other like research projects that you took part of, like any like capstone projects or anything like that?
Oh yeah. I did a lot of different projects my entire time in school. Um, let's see, one of them we did a uh, let's see, we worked with some stroke patients on virtual reality and trying to see if they could do physical therapy in virtual reality, if there was a difference in their physical therapy. Um, because a lot of times people in physical therapy, I can say this because my mom's a physical therapist, um, but
Mhm.
they are given all these exercises to do and they're boring, they're repetitive. You don't want to keep doing this. It's just boring. And so being able to put it in a virtual reality space and saying, okay, now lift this cup and play this, move this hammer or do things like this, will that improve upon their ability to want to do their physical therapy exercises, and will it cause them to have the same result as doing their exercises without virtual reality? And we found that it was very similar to the result of them just doing it, and they wanted to do it more. So that was really cool to see, um, being able to put physical therapy and virtual reality together. Another one I did was hippotherapy. So we have a professor, Dr. Gardner, at Baylor, and he designed a chair that is kind of rounded. It's similar to a saddle, and it has the movement of a horse. And that movement, when you sit on a horse and move, it's the same muscles that you use when you're walking. So it helps with balance, stability, um, and just mobility in general. So we decided to take kids with autism who tend to toe walk. Uh,
Mhm.
so they tiptoe around a lot of times. There's actually a thing too where they can't do heel toe. So if you've seen like the police officer alcohol tests, they can't pass any of those um, because of their balance and the way they are. Um, and so we took children with autism to see if we could measure their balance, their steps, their coordination, bending down, putting one foot in the air, and things like that. And then put them on the horse for 20 minutes to see if that would then help with their balance and coordination. And we did see that there was a significant change, helped with their balance, helped with their mobility. We also had another guy in the lab, Reese, who was monitoring their brain. So we had occupational therapy program that would work with them to see if that would also improve their cognitive abilities. And we also saw a result with that. So that study will come out. We've had some stuff published already, but I think it's fully published this year. So it'll be exciting to have everything documented. But they definitely, so far, the results were pretty promising. So,
Yeah. Thank you. So now we're gonna go into your career at Johnson Controls. So why did you choose
okay.
to work there?
So I wanted to stay in the Plano area. My parents are still in Lucas. I like Dallas and DFW area. I've applied for a couple of different companies and they took me. So they were definitely a helpful job for me. I like that they do SolidWorks and design, and I like that they allow me to go to factories and see things being manufactured. So it's not just looking at the computer and then moving on to the next thing. I'm able to like see and see how it's built, see how processes are made, see how the design process works in engineering. So that's pretty cool.
So is that like your favorite thing about being an engineer, like the design process?
Yeah, I like seeing something that you design like come into the real life, like seeing it in the physical space. It's not just like stuck in your head where you're like, okay, well, yeah, it'll probably look cool, but like seeing it actually made and seeing it being able to like help somebody or um, be designed the way you want it to be designed is like it feels kind of powerful when you're like, you made that.
So what do you do at Johnson Controls right now?
So I'm a product engineer, so I do a little bit of design. I do a lot of design processes. Can't really tell you what I'm working on right now, but it's cool. I've also worked on some accessories, and then so different dampers. So primarily HVAC units.
Mhm.
Um, Redocumentation is a little bit of our process right now because we have Johnson Controls bought a couple of different companies, and we're just trying to make sure that they all have the same kind of process. And if they're going to be working at similar plants, then getting that process done. Um, yeah, so a lot of it is design, redocumentation. I work a lot in SolidWorks, and then I work in another software called AS400, and that's kind of our programming language. So I design rules to make sure that if a customer orders something and they want it white or they want it black, or we can actually make uh, vents and stuff that are installed that are matching with the ceiling. So if somebody wants a hall that the roof is all wood, we can match the tone of the wood so that the vents don't look different or out of place. So it's
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Gotcha. Do you think there's like any like leadership involved in like what you do?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Especially as a girl on my team. The guys don't really talk a lot. And so I'm definitely able to talk more and get more experience. I think leadership wise, ooh, I think it's when you put yourself out there too and say like, "Hey, I have experience in this field." People come to you and ask you a lot of questions. So I've been able to do more in teaching people SolidWorks because I was able to do training for SolidWorks with my job. They allowed us to do SolidWorks certifications, and so then people come to me and say, "Hey, how do I do this? How do I move this? Do I how do I increase this? How do I create these tolerances? How do I do the design tables?" And I'm able to go back and reference that, and so it's a lot of collaboration, I guess, is more my leadership stuff because I am kind of fresh out of college. I am a product engineer one. So,
Gotcha. How would you describe your work style at Johnson?
ooh, my work style, like, should I say like if I'm at a desk or
Like
how,
the environment that you like work in, like are you like remote? Are you like in person? Like are there
yeah.
a lot of hands-on? stuff?
Yeah, we go in the office 3 days a week now. So I can work from home. So I'm actually at my little, oh, I'm at my desk right now. So I have my monitors and everything. So I have the ability to work from home. I also have the ability to work in office. I work in a little cube, and I have a cubicle buddy named Kyle, and we do a lot of collaboration. Um, it's nice because under my manager, there's six of us, and all of us are in the same area. So if we have questions, we can collaborate, and we're all in the office around the same days. But also, if we want to just work on our own and get things done, we have the ability to either be in office in our little cubes or be at home and get a lot done. So
Gotcha. So overall, so Johnson, Baylor, Virginia Tech, do you think like the places where you like studied and worked, do you think they affected your progress and what you're doing right now as a product engineer?
yes, um, yeah, I think a lot. Well, I had some really great professors that really encouraged me. Uh, Engineering's hard. It sucks. Sometimes it's hard to see like your friends in business that are like going out or going to get food or hanging out, and you have to go study. Um, but it's worth it. I think if you have a drive for it, it's really encouraging to have people too to lead you and guide you. Gosh, I think the classes are hard, but they're worth it. They definitely helped me a lot. I've took some classes and I remember sitting in school going, nobody's going to use this. I don't know why I'm learning LabVIEW right now. And I'm now sitting in my uh, office and being like, oh, I have to download a program in LabVIEW and redesign it. And thank God I had that experience. So yes, and no, I guess too. Sometimes it's hard, but I think everything happens for a reason, and the processes that you are able to take in college definitely help you in a career path. And this career I'm in right now, I think helps me for the future too. So
Gotcha. So you mentioned that you like business friends get to like hang out, whereas you're like in and studying.
yeah,
I mean, that is true, but how do you balance your work and day life? So like work and like having time for yourself.
yeah. My dad had a really good idea with me. He said treat it like a job. So from 8 to 5, you're working, and then if you need to work a little overtime sometimes you have to do that, but 8 to 5 I was studying, I was getting things done. So my friends were like, let's go get brunch after class, and I was like, well, I'm gonna work on my job. I treated it like a job. I was paying for go to college, so I might as well treat it like a job. Um, and I got a lot out of that, and then I was able to do a lot after. So that helped a lot. I also made friends in my classes, so they were all doing the same thing I was, and so that was really helpful. And I studied a lot at the engineering buildings, so that was helpful too to get things done. And also talking with my professors. If I was stuck on something, my freshman year, I'd be sitting there for like 3 hours going, "What is this? How do I do this? I don't understand this." And then I realized I could just go to my professor. Probably took me a little bit longer to realize that. But like junior year, if I had a question and I didn't understand it, I'd be knocking on my professor's door and he knew it was me. He's like, okay, Megan. And I would ask the question because it was easier to understand things if somebody was helping you. So that's probably a big thing too, is making sure you're talking to your professors, talking with other students. You're not in the boat by yourself if you don't want to be.
Mhm. So being a female in STEM, do you see any like do you see any prejudice in where you're working?
I think I saw more prejudice in school, honestly. Johnson Controls is really good about creating a diverse work environment. I know that all of the engineer ones start at the same salary, and our salary is only based on your improvement and your production and your design. So it's not based on my gender or my age or anything like that. It's based on my experience and if I'm able to improve at the company. So I really don't get any flack at the company for being a female engineer. If anything, it's I'm bossing, people around who are older than me and they're like, "You're a little kid." But otherwise, I don't really get that. But definitely in school, definitely with the guys in school, they would be like, "Oh, you're a female engineer. Oh, you're a blonde engineer. Uh, or you're a girl and you're doing all these other clubs. Like, you're clearly not cut out for this." And you just kind of have to shrug it off and be like, "Okay." And like, what do you want me to change? What do you want your opinion? Do you want your opinion of me to matter to me? It just didn't really matter anymore. Like, you're there for a reason. You got into school. You're obviously smart to get into a program. You're obviously smart to show that you're in the same classes as these guys. So for them to be like, "Oh, you're a girl." Okay. You kind of have to just shrug it off. Really, it was only really the guys in the class that did that. I'm sure there's some professors that were kind of looking at me like, "There's a ditzy girl in the class." But once I proved to them, "Hey, I'm smart. I know how to do this. I can take control. I know what I'm doing in this class, and I'm asking questions that generally make sense." It really didn't really affect me anymore.
Do you think being a woman in STEM affects your personal life?
Hmm. It can. Yeah, I think it does. In college, I didn't. So I have a boyfriend now. But in college, I didn't. I mean, I had a couple boyfriends here and there, but I think it takes a strong and supportive partner in STEM. When I started dating my boyfriend, he was still in school, and I was making money, so definitely a lot more money than he was making in school. Um, and he was just really supportive about that. Didn't really care that I was making more money than him, and now he makes more money than me. So having somebody, I guess, that helps you, encourages you, and lets you drive, and not just being like, "Oh, shoot," being intimidated by that. That's really helpful. I do work with a lot of guys too, so them being insecure in a relationship is helpful because I'll come home and be like, "Oh, guess what Mitchell said today," and he's like, "Okay," But I do work with a lot of guys, and I guess I'm comfortable with that because I've had a brother, um, and grew up with brothers. But I think personally, it shouldn't affect you if you don't want it to. I have female engineering friends too, and I think the only thing is sometimes the partners are like, you got to get a supportive partner to a woman in STEM.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So here's the last question. What's your advice for high school students like me who want to pursue a STEM career?
Ooh, there's so much advice I could give. I say keep doing what you're doing. The AP classes are really helpful. Um, I did dual credit in non-STEM classes, so I could just never take English again, which was helpful.
Mhm.
No offense to the English teachers, I love them, but I don't want to do it anymore. Uh, let's see. I would say, hmm, extracurriculars is really helpful. Find something that you are interested in doing other than engineering. Um, that may not take a lot of time because you are engineering. Um, so that was really helpful. So like SWE, Society of Women Engineering, is really helpful. It's really supportive. So finding something that is supportive to the fact that you may have exam weeks that are really hard and you may not be able to be involved. Um, but also having an outlet because engineering sucks and sometimes some semesters you're like, I just want to design something, and you're learning all the foundations. So keeping up with it, realizing that it's maybe just one little step, one little wave in the program, um, and going through that. Also finding mentors, asking people if you need help, reaching out to alumni, reaching out to anybody. People like to talk about it. especially women in engineering. We love to talk about engineering. Um, and then also having a voice for yourself. Um, you're capable of doing things. You know, you're smart, you're well equipped, and knowing that the world's going to try to crush you down and tell you you're not good enough, but having that backbone and having a voice and asking questions when you want to ask questions and reaching for opportunities that may seem like they're really far away um, really might give you a chance and might change your career. So yeah, having a voice is a big thing. Despite despite what you think now, I used to be really, really, really quiet in school. So um, forcing myself to have a voice definitely gave me a lot of opportunities, and so I don't really shut up now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of
Thank you for your time.
course, I really appreciated it.